Hi there, it's October the 14th and we continue our progress through the prophecies of Jeremiah, in Hebrew Yirmiyahu, meaning the Lord will appoint. And we're reading the balance from verse 21 of chapter 23 through to chapter 25 verse 38. And so first of all, in chapter 23, the Lord takes issue, or Jeremiah takes issue, with the prophets who are prophesying in his name, and they're prophesying this peace, as we mentioned yesterday. They're saying everything will be peace. But God says, I didn't send these prophets, and yet they're running as if they were. They're going and running to people and saying, the Lord sent me. The Lord said, no, I didn't send them, and actually they're not going to be able to hide from me. I'm coming after them. I live in all of heaven and earth. I see what they're doing. And the Lord says that they are full of, in Hebrew the word is sheker, they're full of sheker, they're full of deceit, they're full of misleading words, they're full of lies. Basically, they're dreamers who, instead of leading people to the Lord, lead them away to the Baalim, lead them to the idols. And so God says that he's going to judge these prophets, and he's going to bring their words to nothing. His word will be like a fire, like a hammer. And he says, I'm against these prophets. I'm against these who are speaking in my name. And I'm actually going to cause my word to cease, so that when people say, where's the decree of the Lord? People say, what decree? We don't know what the word of the Lord is, because the Lord is going to so leave them alone, so distance himself from Judah that people are not even going to hear the word of the Lord anymore. He's going to cast them off, and they're going to be ashamed. It's a terrible judgment because of the false prophecies of these prophets of Sheker, these prophets of deceit. And then in chapter 24, a fairly short chapter, Jeremiah has the vision of a basket of figs. Now this vision comes after the king's son, Jeconiah, has been taken away to Babylon. So this is like the initial taking away, the initial exiling into Babylon. And not only Jeconiah, not only the king's son, but also artisans, skilled people, people who are able to make things, have also been taken away into Babylon. And this picture comes as Jeremiah sees a picture of a basket of figs, but some of the figs are good and some of the figs are bad. And the Lord indicates that the good figs actually represent those whose hearts are after him and those whose hearts are for the Lord, and they will actually be those who return to Judah and to Jerusalem. And the Lord says, and I will establish them, I will be their God, they will be my people. And the covenant will be re-established. And this is because these people have known God. They have experienced. That word in Hebrew, to know, is also to experience. They have a relationship with God. So where there is a relationship with God, these figs, this picture of the good figs, will return. However, the bad figs, the inedible figs, the figs that can't be eaten, will be removed, and actually they will be destroyed. And this represents one of the last kings, King Zedekiah, who will actually be taken away and will become a byword among the nations. And again, this picture that the nations will look on Israel and they will know that they've broken the covenant. And sword and famine and pestilence will come. Again, a terrible judgment. And in the last of the chapters, in chapter 25, this is the time when the Babylonians are on the rise. In fact, it says that this is in the first year of King Nebuchadnezzar. It's in the time of King Jehoiakim, and so this is really coming to a close of the rule of the kings, the Davidic line in Judah, and it's the first year of the time of Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar has now risen to power in Babylon. And Jeremiah basically says to them, I have been prophesying to you now for 10 years, not just me, but also the other prophets of Israel have been prophesying you to turn around, to give your hearts to the Lord, to come and follow him, to turn away from the idols. But you haven't heard, you haven't listened, and therefore Babylon is coming, what he calls the families of the north. The northern hordes are going to come down, and there will be destruction. In fact, in verse 11, Jeremiah in chapter 25 uses a very strong word. He says, you will become herem, you will become devoted, you will become given over to destruction, rather like the nations before in the coming into the land of Israel. Israel was commanded to treat the tribes as herem, as devoted to the Lord, to be completely destroyed. So the Lord says, you will be completely destroyed. But not just Israel is going to suffer this. The Lord says, because my city, because the one I love is going to be given over, is going to suffer this, none of the other nations will be exempt from this, what he calls the cup of the Lord. And this is the cup of the Lord's judgment. And Jeremiah begins to use this picture of a cup of wine, the picture of the grapes having been trodden, the suppression, the oppression, the violence having been done to the grapes has filled up this cup of the Lord's judgment. And so all of the nations around, including Egypt, are included in this coming judgment, which is coming through the overwhelming power of Babylon. The shepherds will not escape, the leaders will not escape. There's no point running, because God has his destiny. It's worth noting here again, going back to that picture of the figs, that God always leaves a place of escape. He always leaves room to move out. So for the good figs, for those who will go, for those who will leave with their hearts still focused on the Lord, there is hope. And it's about, the key is the relationship with God in chapter 24. It's about those who know the Lord, those who say, you are my God, and he says, I want to be, you are my God, and those, he says to them, I am your God, and you will be my people. So today we can know that, particularly through our faith in Messiah, in Jesus, we are included in those people who can relate to, who can have a walk, who can have an experience of God. And we're included in those good figs that will walk with God, not just now, but into the life to come. Have a very good October 14th.